They thought he was untouchable, billionaire, mogul, rap legend, a man whose empire stretched from Brooklyn's Marcy projects to the glass towers of Manhattan. But on this day, inside a courtroom heavy with silence, Jay-Z's hands shook, his voice cracked, and the judge's words hit like a hammer that shattered more than his freedom. The empire he built brick by brick was about to collapse, and millions around the world watched the unthinkable unfold. Jay-Z sat stiff at the defense table, wearing a charcoal suit that seemed to swallow his once commanding frame. For decades, he had been the image of control, a man who turned street corner hustle into boardroom dominance, the hustler who became a billionaire without bowing to anyone. But here, inside the Manhattan Supreme Court, the weight of the state versus Sean Carter left him looking small. The prosecution's case had been brutal. Weeks of testimony painted Jay-Z not as a mogul, philanthropist, or music icon, but as a man with shadows trailing his empire. Old associates from the Marcy days, once silent, now testified about alleged ties that never truly dissolved. Prosecutors connected dots that Jay-Z had spent a lifetime erasing: backroom deals, whispers of money laundering, and claims of intimidation. "Your Honor, this is not about music," the lead prosecutor declared, her voice slicing through the courtroom. "This is about power, about how Sean Carter used his fame, his wealth, and his influence not just to build an empire, but to shield himself from accountability. Today, that shield comes down." The jury had watched silently, faces unreadable, as witness after witness painted a portrait of a mogul who straddled two worlds: the glitter of global celebrity and the grit of street loyalty. Some testimonies felt weak, others shaky, but a few landed like daggers. One former associate recalled a night years ago where debts were settled not with contracts but with threats. Another whispered of private recordings, rumored to show industry parties that the public was never meant to see. Jay-Z's defense pushed back hard. His attorney, a silver-haired veteran known for winning impossible cases, reminded the jury of the empire Jay-Z had built, of the schools he funded, the scholarships, the criminal justice reforms he championed. "This is a man who lifted people from the streets to the stages of the world," he said, "and now they want to drag him back into chains of the past. Do not let gossip and envy decide justice." But even as the defense spoke, Jay-Z's eyes betrayed him. He stared down at his trembling hands, aware of how thin the line had become between perception and truth. His wife, Beyonce, sat stoically in the gallery, sunglasses hiding swollen eyes. Their children were kept away from the circus, shielded from cameras that swarmed outside the courthouse. The turning point came when prosecutors revealed financial documents. Bank transfers, shell companies, and cryptic ledgers allegedly linking Carter's business ventures to questionable entities overseas. Though no single piece of evidence screamed guilty, together they created a storm the defense couldn't easily sweep aside. The trial stretched for weeks, each day darker than the last. Fans camped outside with posters pleading "Free Hov." While critics filled social media with hashtags demanding accountability, news channels played split screens, Jay-Z's old music videos on one side, courtroom sketches on the other. The contrast was jarring. The King of New York reduced to lines on legal parchment. And then came sentencing day. The courtroom buzzed with tension as Judge Miriam Calloway, known for her uncompromising rulings, shuffled papers before her. Jay-Z's lawyer had begged for leniency, citing his contributions, his clean public record for decades, his role as a father and community leader. "This man is not a threat to society," the lawyer pleaded. "He is a builder, not a destroyer." Jay-Z rose, his voice barely steady. "Your Honor, I've made mistakes in my life, but I've also tried to make good. I came from nothing, and I've tried to give back more than I ever took. Please, I ask you to consider my family, my children. They deserve their father." The courtroom was silent, the weight of history pressing on every shoulder. Then the judge's voice rang out, unflinching. "Sean Corey Carter, this court finds that your influence, wealth, and legacy do not place you above the law. Actions have consequences, no matter who commits them. Therefore, I sentence you to 20 years in state prison." The words hit like bullets. Gasps echoed. Beyonce covered her face. Jay-Z staggered, gripping the defense table to stay upright. 20 years. 2 decades erased in a heartbeat. The gallery erupted. Some cried, others shouted. The bailiffs moved swiftly, ordering silence as Jay-Z's expression collapsed into something the world had never seen: fear. For the first time in decades, the man who once declared, "I'm not a businessman, I'm a businessman," was not untouchable. He was just another inmate waiting to be processed. And the empire outside those courtroom doors trembled. The sound of the gavel still echoed in Jay-Z's mind as marshals escorted him from the courtroom. Every camera in the hallway outside flashed like lightning, capturing the unthinkable Sean Carter, billionaire icon, rapper turned mogul, now a convicted man facing 20 years behind bars. The image was surreal, but it was real, and the world was watching. Outside, chaos erupted. Supporters screamed in disbelief, some chanting his name, others breaking into tears. Detractors jeered, shouting that justice had finally caught up with him. News anchors scrambled for live coverage, while social media platforms nearly crashed under the flood of hashtags, #Jay-Z sentenced, #20 years, #empire fallen. Within minutes, the verdict wasn't just national news, it was global. Back inside the courthouse, Beyonce was ushered into a private corridor by security. For years, she had stood beside her husband through storms, both public and private, projecting strength even when whispers swirled around them. But now her composure cracked. Friends close to her said she whispered only 4 words as tears rolled behind her shades. "How will we survive?" Jay-Z's businesses felt the quake instantly. Stock prices tied to companies he had invested in began to slide before the courtroom emptied. Roc Nation, his entertainment empire, saw board members hold emergency meetings. Sponsors pulled endorsements in hours. Luxury brands quietly scrubbed his face from campaigns that once celebrated him as the perfect mix of art and wealth. The machine that once moved in perfect sync was collapsing in real time. In Brooklyn's Marcy projects, where Jay-Z had once hustled as a teenager, residents huddled around phones and TV. Some expressed sadness, others shrugged. "He always said he couldn't be touched," one old neighbor muttered. "Guess even kings fall." Meanwhile, inside the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn, Jay-Z experienced the brutal transition from mogul to inmate. The tailored suits were gone, replaced by an orange jumpsuit that fit awkwardly. The luxury cars and private jets vanished, replaced by a cold metal bunk and the smell of bleach mixed with sweat. He kept his head low, but inmates recognized him instantly. Whispers followed him down corridors. Some looked at him with awe, others with hunger. Fame inside prison is not protection, it's a target. Prison staff, aware of the risks, placed him in protective custody. But protective custody meant isolation. 23 hours a day in a small cell, no phone whenever he wished, no studio, no boardroom, just silence and time. For a man who thrived on motion, silence was a punishment sharper than bars. Outside, former allies scrambled. Some distanced themselves immediately, releasing carefully worded statements of disappointment. Others stayed quiet, fearing their names might surface in investigations. Rumors swirled that Jay-Z, like Diddy before him, kept files, recordings, ledgers, evidence tucked away as insurance. If true, those files could topple more than one empire. Politicians, moguls, and even rival artists were rumored to be nervous. But the bigger story wasn't just his imprisonment, it was the ripple effect. With Jay-Z's empire shaking, rivals moved in. Music executives eyed Roc Nation's contracts. Sports agents circled athletes under Roc Nation Sports. Club promoters and event organizers whispered about seizing market share. In an industry where loyalty is paper thin, vultures never waited long. On the streets, younger rappers debated his downfall in interviews. Some called it tragic, others warned it was a lesson. The higher you climb, the harder you fall. One rising star said, "Nobody's untouchable." For the Carter family, the pain was intimate. Blue Ivy, their eldest daughter, was shielded from most of the coverage, But in a digital world, hiding was impossible. Classmates whispered, tabloids speculated, and cameras camped outside their mansion gates. Beyonce faced an impossible task, protecting her children while holding together what was left of their world. Behind bars, Jay-Z wrestled with regret. At night, he replayed moments from his rise, the corners of Marcy, the first deal, the Def Jam takeover, the Super Bowl performances. He remembered the pride in his mother's eyes when he bought her a home. He remembered the roar of fans shouting his lyrics back at him, millions of voices declaring his words like scripture. Now those same lyrics haunted him. "I'm not a businessman, I'm a businessman." The irony cut deeper than steel. Visits from his legal team offered little comfort. Appeals would be filed, yes, but appeals took time, and even in the best case, years could pass before freedom. Jay-Z understood time better than most. Time was what he had spent building an empire. Now time was what the state had taken away. Reporters uncovered more cracks in his empire. Lawsuits emerged. Old associates came forward with claims of unpaid debts. Insiders whispered about encrypted drives and safes containing secrets too dangerous to surface. Some speculated the government wanted those secrets, not just justice. The conspiracy mill churned endlessly. Was Jay-Z truly guilty, or was he a pawn in a larger game, silenced before he could expose others? Meanwhile, Beyonce made a decision. Though devastated, she refused to let their legacy dissolve completely. She met with advisors, restructuring Roc Nation, securing finances, and quietly preparing for a world where Jay-Z might never fully return. Privately, she struggled with betrayal and anger. Publicly, she projected resilience, posting cryptic images of strength and survival that fans devoured. Back in the cell, Jay-Z realized survival meant more than enduring prison. It meant navigating politics inside. Inmates approached him cautiously. Some offered respect, recalling how his music gave them hope. Others saw opportunity. A man like Jay-Z had money, influence, connections, even locked up. Deals were whispered, protection was offered, but always at a cost. One night, lying awake on his thin mattress, Jay-Z thought about legacy. He had built one for decades, but now it teetered on the edge of destruction. Would he be remembered as the hustler who turned billionaire, or the mogul who fell to scandal? Would his music outlast the headlines, or would the headlines bury the music? The questions lingered like ghosts, and for the first time in years, Sean Carter felt powerless. Weeks turned into months, and the world outside Jay-Z's cell moved on, but never without his shadow. Every headline, every debate show, every podcast seemed to circle back to the same question. Was this the end of Jay-Z, or the beginning of something even more dangerous? Inside prison, the routine was suffocating. Wake up at dawn, roll call, meals that tasted like cardboard, a single hour in the yard. For someone who once commanded arenas, the confinement felt like suffocation. Yet Jay-Z was no ordinary inmate. Even behind bars, he drew attention. Guards monitored him closely, wary of both threats and favors. Inmates treated him like a myth made flesh. Some bowed with respect, others probed with envy. Survival became his new business. He adapted quickly. He kept his circle small, spoke less, listened more. When approached with offers protection for money, connections for favors, he measured every word. The Jay-Z who once moved through billion-dollar boardrooms now navigated prison politics with the same cold calculation. But prison wasn't a world you could negotiate forever. It was a world that swallowed even the strongest. Meanwhile, beyond the bars, whispers grew louder. Rumors swirled that Jay-Z had locked away files, encrypted drives, footage, financial records. Insurance policies against betrayal. The whispers claimed the government wanted those files more than his conviction. Some said they linked powerful names to private events, names no one dared speak aloud. The same kind of whispers that haunted Diddy before his fall. The press devoured the theories. Was Jay-Z being punished for crimes or silenced for secrets? Analysts debated on live TV, former associates gave cryptic interviews, and fans flooded social media with conspiracies. He knows too much. One viral thread read, "They don't want him free, they want him quiet." Beyonce fought her own war outside. She took control of family assets, restructured Roc Nation, and launched new ventures under her name. But she also faced betrayal. Some industry allies abandoned her. Others saw weakness and circled. In private, she wept. In public, she stood tall, becoming the unbreakable face of resilience. Her performances grew rawer, her messages sharper. She was no longer just Beyonce the superstar. She was Beyonce the survivor, the protector of her family's legacy. For Jay-Z, survival meant more than physical safety. It meant deciding how to use what he still had, knowledge. He knew secrets, stories, histories buried beneath years of silence. He also knew that 20 years was a sentence long enough to erase his empire if he stayed passive. And so, he considered his final play. One night after lights out, he sat in the dim glow of the corridor and began to write. Not rhymes, not lyrics, but a statement. A story only he could tell. The tale of his rise, his empire, the battles he fought, and the deals he made. He didn't write with pen and paper, but in his mind, rehearsing lines like verses, memorizing every detail. His lawyers later hinted to the press that Jay-Z was working on something historic. Journalists speculated it was a memoir. Others said it was a legal strategy, a bargaining chip. Some believed it was a coded warning to the powers that be. He wouldn't go down alone. Inside prison, tension rose. Word spread that Carter might have a way out, not through appeals, but through leverage. Inmates whispered, guards listened, and suddenly he was moved again, deeper into protective custody. Too many eyes were on him. Meanwhile, public opinion fractured. Some saw him as a fallen hero, a man crushed by a system that loved to see powerful black men fall. Others saw him as proof that even billionaires could not escape consequences. But everyone agreed on one thing: Jay-Z's story wasn't finished. Months later, a leak hit the internet. Not a song, not a video, but a single audio clip. A muffled voice, unmistakably Jay-Z's, saying, "They thought this was the end, but the truth hasn't even started yet." The clip spread like wildfire. News anchors played it on repeat. Fans dissected every syllable. Was it a threat, a promise, a confession? The government denied involvement. His lawyers claimed no knowledge, but the effect was undeniable. The world's attention snapped back to Jay-Z. From his cell, Carter watched the storm unfold. His lips curled into the faintest smile. Even locked behind bars, his voice still moved millions. His story wasn't over. In fact, it had just shifted into a new chapter. And so, the mogul-turned-inmate became something more dangerous, an idea. An idea that secrets remained buried, that an empire wasn't built on music alone, and that one man's fall could ripple through industries, politics, and power itself. Back in Brooklyn, the streets buzzed with debate. Was he guilty? Was he framed? Was he about to expose everything? The whispers only grew louder. If half talks, one former associate said, "The world burns." In the silence of his cell, Jay-Z leaned back, closed his eyes, and let the thought linger. 20 years was a number, but legacy was forever. The last play was coming, and the world wasn't ready.